Yes, back to we approach the crossroads of life after 60, we realize that many of us, we don't feel like we're finished yet, and we have much more to offer. We understand and acknowledge the value of the knowledge and the skills and the experience that we've accumulated throughout our careers. And therefore, this is a very different level of empowerment that we have to contribute to our legacy. In today's episode, I welcome a vivacious serial entrepreneur who is no stranger to building a thriving family business and building a legacy. My guest began working with her parents' insurance broker business when she was only 13 years old. She purchased the business in her 30s, built a specialized niche along with her spouse, and sold a portion of the business in 2020 to pursue her next role as a business consultant. Welcome, Anthea Mumby, who identifies as one of those entrepreneurs who cannot be defined by one sweet statement. Anthea helps business owners who are ready to break free from the chaos of constant business emergencies with the benefit of 4 decades of entrepreneurial experience. Anthea helps to put out the fires, stabilize a business, and sail on to success. It's no surprise that Anthea's favorite clients are couple-owned businesses, and we're going to talk about that today. These are owners who want to create a lasting, loving legacy of wealth and well-being, and that's Anthea's words, and I love that. Anthea also loves working with Canadian insurance brokers, just so that we don't forget that, who need a pinch hitter broker principal to help the challenge or an opportunity. Please join Anthea and me as we explore and debunk some of the myths of owning a business with a spouse, building trust in couple-owned businesses, and sharing your vision so that you retain good quality employees in your business. Hello, Anthea. Great to have you here today.
Hello, Patricia. Thank you so much for the opportunity and that lovely introduction.
Well, we put it together, together, and we got the best out of it. So I'm really happy because I want to communicate that apart from us having more to contribute, we have a lot of value to contribute. So here we go, okay? And I know that you are also into busting myths. So I want to ask you to share your insight on what are the common myths about owning a business with your spouse?
Great question. Yeah, this comes up a lot. Often, in my lived experience working with my spouse now for over 25 years, and when I talk to entrepreneurial couples, and we often get that question when we introduce ourselves as, owning a business with our spouse, and people say, "You must be crazy," or "How do you do that?" Or "You're still married."
Yeah. So is
Yeah.
that one of the myths, is that you must be crazy?
I think so. I think so. And maybe some days I kind of am. You'd have to ask my husband about that, Patricia. But
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, it is actually a big myth around the fact that, it's going to mean your relationship's going to suffer or your business won't succeed. That's not necessarily always the case.
hmm hmm So before you offer some other takes on it, it's not the other case. Uh, Tell me where you think these myths originate. Why do people think that way?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of the times it's like anything. Maybe there's been that one example, that one experience that somebody had. Maybe they worked in an entrepreneurial, like a couple-owned business, or they know somebody who had, or maybe it was their own parents who had a business together, and there was a clash, or there were some
hmm
poor experiences. And I think a lot of the times that's what's led people to believe that, oh, there's going to be problems, there's going to be challenges, it's just not going to work effectively.
hmm
Yeah.
Now, obviously, with you working with your parents who had a business together and you worked with them for a long time, and then when you went out on your own, you actually included your spouse. Can you think of a particular challenge that you were able to get over because you did have that relationship with one another?
Yes. So a challenge would be around when I think back to our earlier days of myself working with my spouse, it was around our communication
Mm-hmm.
between the two of us, and how sometimes it was nonstop. We would start our
Mm.
business, the discussions, we were known at the time for, 6 a.m., getting together in the morning, getting ready for the day in the morning. And it would start, like, the business discussions would start like right in the bathroom. He's showering, I'm doing, my stuff. And we're talking, business strategy. And that would continue throughout the entire day, even into, over family dinner time. And
Mm-hmm.
some days till our heads hit the pillow at night, it was just like that nonstop talk about,
Mm-hmm.
business. So that was
Mm-hmm.
a big challenge for us back in those
Mm-hmm.
earlier days. Yeah.
And do you have a secret to how you get past that you can share with people?
Yeah, well, it comes down to, ultimately, it's a conversation, and it's around boundaries, and it's
Yeah.
about, knowing each other, and knowing how you're going to communicate effectively, and how are you going
Mm-hmm.
to set those boundaries. And do you have, like, we had a code word that we would use, and it would be like,
Ah.
yeah, yeah. So Douglas and I would say figment. Like, figment was our code word, which meant the business is now a figment of our imagination.
Oh, I think that's very effective. To have a code word, but even to have a code word like that, uh, that has meaning for the two of you. And
Yeah.
mm, again, you talk about communication, but I think there's probably one key that you spoke to me about before, and that is, I think couples have a certain level of trust that they can depend on, that
Hmm.
maybe other business owners have to build, but couples have that as a foundation of their relationship, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
their relationship wouldn't work either. So,
Yeah.
how do you build a level of trust that helps to create what you call a lasting, loving legacy of wealth and well being?
Yeah. So for me, it always comes down to, like, one of the key things in the trust is knowing that each of you has your own lanes. You each have your area of, responsibility, key communication, key contribution. And from that, then you establish more trust. You're not running around going, oh, gee, did you take care of payroll today? Because,
Oh,
yeah, as an example, right?
yeah,
If your
yeah,
employees don't get
yeah.
paid, that's going to be a challenge. So you trust that that partner has got that, and they're taking care of that, and
Hmm.
you, as the other partner, have your area. And when you're
Hmm.
when you're setting up that structure together, and you're getting really clear in those areas, then the trust can build from there, that things are going to run, smoothly. And then the business
Hmm.
will, it'll succeed, you get the results, and then you're also not having trust issues at home, because this is like spilling over into your
Yeah.
personal lives. Yeah.
Yeah. So two things come to mind for me. We were talking about communication, and sometimes you communicate too often about your business, right?
Mhm.
And so when you're talking about building that trust and knowing that the other person is in their lane, doing what you would expect them to do, uh, other business owners have meetings to sort of align the accountability. Did you implement certain times or certain meetings when you did talk about accountability, so that it wasn't just sort of left to blind trust, so that you know things are going to happen the way they're supposed to?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I know. We don't want that. Yeah, we had a number of different types of meetings in our organization. We had a daily team huddle with ourselves and all of our team members. So that happened,
Mhm.
quick 5-10 minute meeting every single morning. And that was not as much about accountability, but more around, like, success and wins, and how was the
Oh.
team. Yeah, yeah, that was a big one for, like, setting the day up for success, just bringing
Mhm.
some positivity into the day, and for
Mhm.
each of us to see each other contributing and recognizing that. And I would say, like, even if you don't have something to brag about for yourself for the previous day, maybe a team member, maybe you want to brag about something that a team member did, how they handle a client situation or a challenge, in the workspace. So that was a big one around, the communication piece. And then getting into the accountability side of things, one of our regular meetings was we had a monthly all team meeting, and it was really around our vision for the business, which everybody knew. We shared it. It was on computer screens. It was on posters in the wall, and we talked about it a lot. And we tied that vision back to the accountability for each team member in terms of how are they contributing to the vision and the overall success of the company. So those were, and we would score where were we at in each of the areas of the vision.
So you'd have a scorecard. That's great. So is this something that when you are working with couple-owned businesses that you implement, or you present as a best practice for them, so that
Absolutely.
they follow a process like that as well?
Yeah, because the other nice thing about that is it also allows that entrepreneurial couple to have more support within their own organization from their team members, because they're sharing the vision, they're talking about the vision, they're talking about accountability, and the team members can also hold the principals accountable as well in turn.
Actually, that was one of the questions I was going to follow up with, because this is very inspiring, especially since you've developed some best practices that you now share with other couples. And the vision part is so important, because it could very easily get lost, or in some way just contained by the couple and not shared with their employees. So share with us now how someone would share their vision as a couple, especially when it affects the retention of good employees, or their stars that they can brag about.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a number of ways to do that. Having it in the physical environment, like I said, it was on everybody's monitor in our team. And also the conversations around the vision, regularly having those conversations. So I always said, like, we don't want to have this vision that is living in the heads of the owners, that we're talking about it once a year. So having it as a regular conversation, and you can even tie like key performance indicators to the contribution to the vision. And to your point about team, Patricia, it's also it's a great tool, like, for hiring, when you bring people in and you talk about the vision and you invite them to, how do they see themselves contributing to the vision? And some may say, like I had some say, it doesn't resonate. I'm not, really aligned with it. So great. We want to know that before we start working together. And then I just found, for retention, again, people, the people that we had brought in who were aligned with that vision really liked that, knowing they were making an impact, a positive impact to that success.
Yeah. So they're invested in your vision as well, right? And even though they may look at certain things a little different, they look at it differently from how they can contribute. But if you are, and again, you are sharing your vision on a regular basis, not just once a year at the retreat and expect everybody to get it, right? So I think that's a very important thing in your work, for you to communicate to your clients, because of course they must be entrepreneurs like you, right? There are some big companies that have families, but they're usually just shareholders in the background somewhere. But for you, you're actually working with a couple. They have an entrepreneurial spirit, and so they need to know what the best practices are at that entrepreneurial level, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you work with some who are just starting out, like maybe they've come from their own corporate jobs and now they want to start a business together? Have you worked with anyone like that?
Yeah, interesting. I just had, so I have a family member who recently got married, and they had started a business together a couple of years ago. And so we had them out, a couple weekends ago, and it was really a strategic session around helping them with some of the things that they wanted to clarify in their business and succeed. And I love that. Like, it was really refreshing because I hadn't worked with, a younger startup
Mm-hmm.
business before. So I just, and I actually had my husband be part of that meeting as well, because I just thought, he would have some ideas and wisdom to share. So that was super fun because we haven't done anything like that together recently. So yeah, we really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how does that contribute to your sense of fulfillment where you are now in your professional life?
Yeah, and that example, it really just helped me feel fulfilled because of, everything that I have learned along the way and that we have learned, and be able to share some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And in our family, there isn't, there aren't really a lot of other entrepreneurs. So it was
Mm-hmm.
also that I always say, Patricia, I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, unemployable entrepreneur. So, if I've got an opportunity to, coach and inspire somebody who's chosen that entrepreneurial
Mm-hmm.
pathway for themselves, like
Mm-hmm.
that's very fulfilling and rewarding for me to be able to do that as well. So
Good. So that's a good segue into introducing a segment of this program, Executive Encore. And the segment is called Every Moment Matters. So there's some pivotal moment in your life when you recognized what fulfillment looks like for you. Could you share that with us? How did you determine what you wanted to do to make every moment matter?
yeah, I was reflecting on that question, and for me, it's a practice. It's a monthly practice, in fact,
Mm-hmm.
where I sit down once a month with my journal, and I look at my calendar, and I looked at what I did, and that really helps me gain clarity and really revisit, like, what does fulfillment look like for the next 30 days, right? What do I want to
Mm.
experience? Yeah, yeah.
So
And
it's not just one moment in time in the past. You actually bring it on, that pivotal moment, by having that monthly time with yourself to reflect and and examine what's fulfillment going to look like for me going forward. I think that's a great practice.
yeah, for me, it really works. It brings me back to, and of course, I'm looking at my vision as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have vision. I have my husband and I have a co-created vision for the two of us. I have a vision for my business. I have my personal vision, right? So those are sort of the three, and I'm kind of contemplating all three of those in that conversation that
Mm-hmm.
I have with myself, and looking forward to the
Mm-hmm.
next, 30 days and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Do you see that as being an acceptable concept for people, or do you have to convince them that this is a good practice?
A bit of both. A bit of it really, yeah. It really depends on the person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people are, they really enjoy that process of, like, taking that time and doing that reflection, and other people might be more inclined to just, carry on with what it is that they're doing, and
Yeah.
looking at it less frequently, quarterly might be, or annually, whatever it might be. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think we're
Mhm.
all kind of
Mhm.
different that way. So yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. So let our audience know how they can reach you, because I think you have a lot to offer other women who are looking for something looking for fulfillment in this phase of life. And it may be either working with their spouse, or it could even be with family members. What action would you like them to take?
Yeah, I'd love to connect with people on LinkedIn. I'm there a lot, and I love to make new connections there. And then the other
Mhm.
thing is, if they are a couple in business and they'd like some tips on and guidelines on some of the things we touched on today, I do have, it's called the couplesinbusinessguide.com.
Okay.
And that's available as a download as well for anyone who's
Mhm.
interested in learning more about how to work successfully with their spouse.
And I will definitely put that in the notes below the video and on LinkedIn post. And your website as well. It's dreamteamconsulting.ca, correct?
You got it. Yes.
I'll put that there as well. Thank you, Anthea. Is there anything else? Is there a question that you would like me to have asked you today and you'd like to speak to
Mm,
that?
Well, yeah. You asked me about the newer couples at the beginning of their
Mm-hmm.
relationship, and I would also say as you go further along in time, it's still there's still the opportunity. Maybe it is succession planning time, right? Like when I think about
Mm.
I got the business from my parents, and they were in their 60s at the time, so there's still things change and adjust over time. So it's still a valuable conversation to have, as you go through the lifetime of your business together and your relationship together as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think if someone is doing this to build a legacy, that is something that they have to look at right from the beginning, even as they're building the business. What's going to be the succession? What are we building, and how is that going to go? How is that actually going to become a legacy? Yeah, so I think that's great. So thank you. I speak to my audience about the fact that there's joy in building a legacy, whether it's on your own or within your family. And Anthea's talked today about how it can be done with couples and within a family. This can be part of your executive encore. So please contact Anthea to explore more about how she can help break free from the chaos for you and the constant emergencies you may have in your business, and how she can help you to really thrive in your business by putting out the fires, stabilizing, and, as she says, sailing on to success. Thank you to my audience, and thank you to Anthea's followers as well. Please join me each week as I interview women like Anthea and other thought leaders about finding fulfillment both personally and professionally as we live longer. Sometimes we talk about fulfillment after 60, and other times the topic could be about returning to work during or after cancer. And I do have guests where I speak to them about that as well. If you're interested in being a guest, doesn't matter what your age is, what your gender is, or a perspective on well-being, please reach out to me. You can visit my website at patriciamuir.com, and you will see that in the notes. And also my blog and my newsletter that during the summer has gone to every other week. It's usually weekly, but you can see my blog history at patriciamuir.com/blog. Please subscribe to the newsletter so that you can keep up with my guests. And as fulfillment in life and work, we live longer, and sometimes we have unexpected detours, but some of them can take us in beautiful paths of fulfillment. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Anthea.
Thanks, Patricia.